Everything's a memory with strings that tied you in my dream.
Ted Kaczynski was born on May 22, 1942 in Evergreen Park, Illinois. As an infant, he was subject to allergies which would hospitalize him for 6 weeks. This traumatic experience would lead Ted to disassociate himself with the world around him. Unlike other children his age, Ted was more focused on academics. Instead of playing with neighbors outside, he would stay in studying. Although Ted excelled in his intelligence, he was behind in social communication with those around him, being unable to fit in with society's standards. Because of Ted's intelligence, he was offered to skip several years of his education. He was granted a scholarship at Harvard University when he was 16 years old. Because of the age gap, Ted faced the pressures of dealing with students who were much older than him. This isolated Ted even more because he had no one to relate to. Along with the gap in age, Ted was one of the several subjects of a psychological experiment that he participated in Harvard. This event would scar him emotionally and mentally. He was put under extreme pressure and stress through interrogation and humiliation, possibly instigating his future motive to murder innocent people and wage war on society around him. After graduating from Harvard in 1962 and graduating from the University of Michigan with high honors in mathematics, Ted was given a teaching job at the University of California. Students who had him described him to be a loner. Kaczynski soon resigns from his job, where he moved back to Illinois to work odd jobs. After being rejected from a Canadian land grant, Ted purchased a 1.4-acre plot of land in Montana where he would build a small cabin and live as a mountain hermit without electricity or any modern necessities for 20 years. This happened after Ted was rejected by a female supervisor he fell in love with at his brother's workplace. He felt betrayed by a woman and by his brother, pushing him to live in isolation throughout his life and the duration of his bombing campaign. With his intelligence in mathematics, Ted built homemade bombs where he would injure more than 20 people. His bombs have caused 3 deaths. Ted targeted people who were in any way related to modern technology and those who were harming the fragile nature of the world without technological innovation. Ted's first victim was Hugh Scruton. Scruton was a 38-year-old computer store owner. He was killed by high-velocity shrapnel from a bomb placed by Ted in front of his store. Ted decided to bomb universities, hence his handle, the UNABOMBER. Although surviving the attack, David Galertner, a computer science professor at Yale University, survived losing an eye, hearing in 1 ear, and part of his hand in 1993. Ted's second fatality was Thomas Mosser. In 1994, he was killed by a mail bomb shipped to his home in New Jersey. He was targeted for being an affiliate of Exxon, the oil company which posed as a danger in Ted's eyes. Ted's final victim was Gilbert Murray in 1995. He was the president of a timber industry lobbying group in California. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time, since the bomb that killed him was originally intended to kill former President William Dennison. Nearing the end of his bombing campaign, Ted requested the publishing of his Unabomber Manifesto, a written work by Ted himself revealing the mastermind behind the Unabomber bombings. He promised to desist in all terrorist actions if his manifesto were to be published, threatening that if it weren't published, bombings would rise at a dramatic scale. In his publication, Ted called for a worldwide revolution against the effects of modern society's industrial technological system. He expressed anger towards progression in modern technology, most likely a hate that he developed due to traumatic events early in his life and 20 years of seclusion from the modern world in his cabin. Ted was arrested on April 3, 1996 at his cabin out in the wilderness in Montana. His brother David and his wife recognized the similarities in Ted's writing with his manifesto and letters that were sent home in the past. David Kaczynski provided the FBI with major leads leading to Ted's arrest. Ted pleaded guilty, receiving a life sentence with no possibility of parole and an FBI prison's registry number. In court, Ted strictly denied the defense's attempts to label him as mentally unstable. Ted described his bombings as a form of green anarchy, and that it was not insanity that was driving him to kill. Because of the efforts by authorities to discover the mastermind behind the bombings, Ted's bombing campaign is the most expensive serial killer case ever, spawning the development of the Unabomber Task Force and rigorous efforts by the FBI.